parts of the score sheet you haven't already done, if you would please. And then you can total your points. Oh yeah, when you get down to the appearance, all of those down there, just put in 5s. We'll do that for everybody, it'll stay kind of even, you know what I mean? Just put, everybody put a 5 in, otherwise we're not going to be able to come up with a score. It makes sense.
Just for appearance or for?
No, starting from appearance all the way down through the rest of them that are worth 5 points. He was, let's see if I wrote this down, 817. Are we all set? We have our numbers. Okay. Okay, if you gave a grade in the 70s, raise your hand. 80s. Okay, let's start with the 80s. 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, grades in the 90s, 90, 91, 92, 93 or above. Okay, quite a range. Okay, so we need to talk. All right.
What did you give it?
I will tell you right now. Line item by line item. Introduction, I gave him a 9. It was not riveting, but it was pertinent. It made sense for what he had to say. And I would have liked it if he had told us a little earlier what he wanted to do. He was going to be a broadcaster. We kind of found that out slightly after the fact. It's as if he put his thesis after his introduction instead of part of it. Okay. His first component, I gave him a 9. This was where he talked about his mentor. I didn't feel it was as complete maybe as it could have been. There might have been more that he could have said there to develop that a little bit. On his second component, I gave him a 10. And on his third component that had the audiovisual, a 10. I thought his audiovisual was exemplary. Yes, because for what he did, his job was to learn how to be a broadcaster. And to show us, to do the script aloud, to show us his actual little notes that he saved from the experience, and to show us the website where these things were published. I don't know what more we would ask of him. I thought it was perfect for what he had to do. He didn't build a canoe. You know, I mean, there is that advantage to the kids who bring in, they took Spanish cookie and they serve you a Spanish meal. Well, that's nice. But what could Zach have done else, I would ask, yeah.
Well, one thing I thought that could have been a little better was if he had taken his notes and made them into like a PowerPoint or something where you could pop them up and see them a little larger. That looked like just a sheet of paper waved by. So if you could see it and get a feel for him scratching through, I think he could have done a better presentation.
Yes, I mean, he was being taped here. He didn't plan on this. See? So what he did, we could all see the notes.
Right. And they've all got the whiteboard or the smart board for the presentation, so make use of that as much as
We
they can.
don't have a smart board. I don't have one in my room. I have 4 whiteboards.
Where they're doing the projects, so they have it?
Only some of them have smart boards.
Well, we can smart.
some of the kids are seeing the now as old hat already. Oh, technology's gone beyond this, we don't need this. I heard a lot of kids say that when I'd ask them about smart boards. Very interesting, because you know, there's, every 2 years something new is happening for them. Okay, on his conclusion, I gave him an 8. You know, it wasn't complete cliche. He did talk about how he might apply this in the future, so I thought it was okay. So to me, the 8 is the okay. There's nothing really wrong with what he said. What he said did make sense. I believed it was sincere. And so that's what I gave him for that. Language. I gave him a 7. Okay, and I'll tell you why. It isn't just that he said nuts and crazy and cool, 14 times. Actually, he said very cool, very proud, cool experience, very cool experience. All in one section of the speech. It was the number of times. Too much with the cool. All right? And hectic and very hectic and really hectic. No, and relying on that. Nuts and crazy and so on. But the rest of what he had to say, the rest of his language was fine. There wasn't anything wrong with it. He didn't have grammatical errors. And so 7 might be a little harsh, I don't know, you know, but that's what I gave it. For eye contact, it's harder for you to see when you're watching something like this. I was in the room, it's a 10. He was looking at everybody and it was comprehensive and he was able to linger. And all of us from time to time glance up, glance out, and glance at the floor. A glance down at the floor once in a while or off to the side is not a problem. It doesn't keep somebody from getting a 10. Voice. I would have given him a 10 except for his fluency issue. It was choppy. And again, this was a dress rehearsal. This wasn't his final thing, so I gave him a 9. His voice was strong, and his vitality was really good. He got really into it. He was describing those TV sets. This game was here, that game was here. He had body involvement. You could see that he was really passionate about what he was talking about. And then, of course, for the, appearance 5. On poise, I did give him a 4. And I'll tell you why. It's the only place I could do something like this. He had a lot, I'm going to stand back so maybe you can see me. There was this constant weight shift thing. He was doing like this little dance up there until he got into the TVs and some of the other things, and he didn't seem to be able to control that from time to time. That's a nervousness thing, okay? So I just took him down to a 9, which is still a very good score. And the other 2, you know, would have been 5s. That would bring him to a 92.
Well, you told us to put 5 in the first for eye contact and voice, right? Oh, okay, you said the okay. My mistake, I went that whole second box.
All right. I would say that if you had anywhere from an 87 to a 92 in that range, that were more or less together. I think if you had the very low 80s, it's too harsh. You need to lighten up. Oh, you put 5s for everything? Okay. Yeah. One thing I didn't tell you that some of you may not be aware of, this is part of their final exam in English. It's a high-stakes grade. And again, back to this whole thing of their lack of experience with presentations. They simply don't have it. And I think we really just need to, you know, and again, I hate the idea that I'll come across sounding to you as if I'm saying, oh, come on, give them a passing grade no matter what. I'm not saying that. We will have some kids who will fail and who will deserve to by the standards. So I just need us to, you know, the rewarding them for what they do well. They're 17. That just has to keep running through your head, okay? And they haven't had any experience in public speaking. Most of the kids you're going to see, they didn't take the course. And even those who did might have taken it in their freshman or sophomore year, and it's for 1 semester. Okay? Yes.
Question about eye contact.
Sure.
On the audience, the camera, I didn't see the work. That's why I gave him a 9.
I don't want them to look at the camera when they're talking to a class.
Okay.
I tell them not to look at the camera. They weren't performing for the camera. He wasn't, you know what I'm saying? He was doing his rehearsal for his class.
Correct.
Okay? So he wasn't trying to make you think that he was giving you eye contact. Is that what you're asking?
No, I just going based on Washington speech that we January, the president said he was.
Oh, well, with the telephone.
Well, yes, every president will look into the camera
Right.
periodically.
I don't want them to. I tell them not to. Okay? And part of the issue too, the looking into the camera is a little bit intimidating for them. And what's more important at the time they're giving the speech isn't the camera that where they're doing us a favor by doing it, letting us show it to you. It was because they were in real life doing it for their own class. Okay, but I wanted to care about the people in the class, which he did, and I know it's hard to see.